Hello, my friends. How are we doing? Can you see me? Can you hear me? It's nice to be back. Why don't we start by saying, okay, if you haven't seen it, if you have no idea, I was cast in a little show, you might have heard of it. It's called House of the Dragon. It is, I think, by the numbers, the biggest TV show in the world. It's on HBO Max. Well, it's just called Max now. But it's produced by HBO. It's a spin-off of Game of Thrones, which you may have heard of. Prequel to Game of Thrones, in fact. And I was introduced in the finale of season 2 as this character. Her name is Sharako Lohar. And how do I explain Sharako to someone who's never seen House of the Dragon? Okay, so House of the Dragon is about the Civil War, and there were some bad guys in season 1 who were on neither side. They were from like a different country, right? And like one of the sides had to go fight them. In this season 2, one of the two sides in the Civil War has to go to the bad guys from season 1 and be like, hey, we want your help against the other side in the Civil War, right? But in the meantime, the bad guys have a new commander. The first one was killed in season 1, and the new commander is me. So one side in the Civil War has to come to me and say, hey, let's let bygones be bygones. Come help us bash the other guys, right? And so shenanigans ensue. That's it in a nutshell. You've never seen House of the Dragon. Thank you so much to Philosinoir for that super chat. That's really kind of you. So yes, this is my character, Sharako Lohar, pirate admiral, leader of a fleet of pirates who join up with one side. And at the end of the show, at the end of this particular episode and season, we see her setting sail to go and maybe unleash mayhem in season 3. You know, to build up to this big civil war that's happening. The story of how I got in House of the Dragon. Actually, Bethany Nicholas says, I didn't know you were in it until you were in the Honest trailers. Yeah, that was kind of weird. I've been watching them for years, and then I turned up with it. So yeah, the story of how I got in House of the Dragon actually starts about a year before with another show called The Prince. So The Prince is a play that I wrote and that I appeared in London, and that a lot of you came to see. It was funded by a streaming service called Nebula. They were our producers. And so many of you bought Nebula subscriptions and bought tickets to come and see The Prince that even though it was kind of a gamble, you know, a streaming service paying for a play, we were actually making profit on The Prince before rehearsals even ended, which is incredible. And we also won a bunch of awards, which was fantastic. So my then agent reaches out to me and says, hey, we'd love you to audition for this role. We're not sure what the show is, but it's a really small role, like just 2 lines. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not too proud to do that. No problem. And so I do the self-tape. Fun fact, Morgana Ignis, who's my co-star in Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend, read the other role, read Tywin Lannister's role, or the role that was took the place of Tywin Lannister in that audition, so that's fun. So then I got an email saying there's going to be a second round. That's quite unusual for small roles. And my agent said it's going to be a second round with Ryan Condal and Sarah Hess, who are the executive producers of House of the Dragon, and Geeta Jackson, the director, and one of the lead actors and the head of casting. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. I bet this isn't a small role. This is one of those times where they tell you it's a small role, and then you get in the room and you find out what it actually is. And then I went in and I met Ryan and Sarah and Geeta and Jefferson and everybody and the head of casting. And Ryan said, it's Sharako Lohar, the commander of the Triarchy. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, cool. At this point, I had seen 3 episodes of House of the Dragon. I watched the first 3 episodes of season 1 before my audition, and then I cut myself off because I didn't want to give them something they'd already seen before. I didn't want to I knew everyone else was going to go in and be like, oh, Game of Thrones, oh, Game of Thrones, oh, it's very serious, my lord, Game of Thrones. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to give them something that feels organic and real and fresh. That's not me trying to second guess what they want, but it's just me going, hey, I'm a professional actor, here's my take on the character. And so I went in and Ryan was like, yeah, what we want to do with this character is bring something entirely new to the world of House of the Dragon. We want to bring something fresh and new and original, an energy that we haven't seen before. And I was like, oh, great, perfect, fantastic. Yeah, cool, because that's great, because that's exactly what I prepared. And then a few weeks later, I got another email, and they said, hey, we want you to do it again, round 3. This time we're going to film it, and because we want to give it to you, but this time it's going to go to the network executives at HBO. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, this is probably kind of a big character then, isn't it? And then a few weeks later, I got the email saying, hey, you got it. And I was like, wow, that's nuts. And the costume department showed me this, which is the original concept art for Sharako. And they said, what do you think? And I was like, they're asking me what I think? And I had already done a fair bit of work on the character at this point, you know, because my job as an actor is to go over the script and be like, okay, what kind of person would say and do this stuff, you know? And I had a sense of Sharako as somebody who is quite theatrical, somebody who puts on a little bit of a show to both intimidate and also throw people off, right? And so I said to them, well, I feel like she's kind of a little bit like Blackbeard, the real life pirate Blackbeard, who covered himself in pistols and had fuses under his hat that smoked, so he looked very fearsome, so fearsome that he didn't have to fight. And he cultivated this reputation as being particularly vicious and fearsome, and that's also why he grew this big black beard, right? So he looked terrifying. And I said, I feel like she's kind of a bit like that. And they said, well, we can't give you guns, because in Game of Thrones they don't have guns, but we can give you knives. So the armorer, Tim, came in and just like started putting knives on me, and I was just like, yeah, just keep going. Keep going. Oh, great question, LS, who asks, did your impressions of the character change when you first acted in costume with props and when you first read the part? Yes, definitely. So a lot of the physical studies that I did when I was first creating the character were based on her being quite nimble. I do a lot of animal studies when I create characters, so I use like a lot of monkeys and studying the way they move. And then when I found she had all her weapons on and her boots on, she's very heavy and she's very weighed down. So trying to combine that energy of somebody who wants to get up and go, but who is quite weighed down. And that feeling that push and pull in her was something that like the costume and everything really, really helped with. It put the brakes on her a little bit. JP says, was the philosopher line your idea? No, actually, that was complete coincidence and could not be changed because of the writer's strike. What sort of man are you?
Beg your pardon?
A poet. A philosopher. I knew when I read that, I was like, oh, okay, Philosophy Chief fans are going to like this one. And I tried to explain this to the producer. I was like, people are going to like this line. And they're like, why? And I was like, I have a YouTube, don't worry about it. Then we had 2 more scenes to shoot after that. We had the mud wrestling scene, which was a long old day and a challenging day. So I was up at something like 4 a.m. to do this one. And the mud is real. It's not chocolate sauce. It's real mud. And they took all the bits of broken glass and stuff out of it. The palm trees in the background. So this was actually filmed in Surrey. Not a place known for its palm trees. The palm trees, they brought them in on trucks and like stuck them in holes in the ground. That's how they do it. And if you go back and you watch the scene, then you'll see there's like an eagle and a goat and like horses and stuff in the background. Like it was a whole thing. And so we shot this mud wrestling scene, and we must have shot it like, I don't even know how many takes we did. We were going all day on that one, and I'd done all my physical training, so I was ready. I was physically fit. We rehearsed it. My fantastic stunt double Tilly did a little bit of it. So the bit where she actually gets punched, that was Tilly, because you're allowed to punch stunt doubles. You're not allowed to punch actors for insurance reasons. I felt bad. I said to Tilly, like, Tilly, I don't want you to get punched. Like, I can take the hit. She was like, no, look, I'm insured. This is what I'm here for. After we did the mud wrestling scene, then there was one little bit left to do, which was this shot. This was my final day on set. This was like a whole different setup. This moment where they're like, you know, we're sailing off to war and we get the build up of the dun 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 dun, like a big theme music moment, right? So this was on the deck of the pirate ship, which, let me tell you, was about 10 foot by 10 foot wooden square with like 5 foot of mast coming out of it. Like, no, there's 7 foot of mast coming out of it. And then the rest is all blue screen. We're in like a back lot here, right? Looking at a blue screen. And it's on a gimbal, so it like moves like the ocean. So as you walk across the deck, you have to like move as if you're on a real boat, which is amazingly cool. And then there was a wind machine and a rain machine, which was, there's a guy like just here out of shot with a leaf blower and a hose, just like blowing it in our faces. Me and Jefferson were just trying not to laugh because like my wig was going in my mouth and this guy was like, you know, face. It was so funny. And we had this big serious moment, and like I've got this lip scar, this fake scar that they've given me, and like it was so like, oh. It was very, very funny. Effielda Troy says, what was the reception like? Well, why don't we move on a little bit and we'll talk about the reception shortly. I have 3 criteria that I judge my own acting performance by when I've done a job, and they are: did I do my character preparation? Am I listening to my scene partners? And am I serving the text? And if I've done all 3 of those things, then I know I can walk away from the set and feel good. And I similarly, long-time viewers of the live streams will know, I have 3 criteria I judge Philosophy Tube videos by, which are different. So the first one, did I do my character preparation? Yes. Definitely. I did a lot of rehearsals before I set foot on set, both on my own and with the rest of the production team. All those animal studies I did, all that Michael Chekhov and Laban stuff I did, all the character improvisations I did on my own and in rehearsals, like all the childhood stuff, all the backstory stuff, all the imagery that we created, all the like sensory pictures that we built up. Yes, definitely did a lot of character preparation. Big tick, Abigail, for that one. Secondly, am I listening to my scene partners? Which means like, am I giving them an energy that chimes with what they're giving me? And I think watching the scenes back, I think, yeah, I am. I think like Tylen's giving me this like nervous, slightly like, oh, not sure what's going on here. And I'm giving him a complimentary energy, which is like, yes, come here, little mouse. And the first scene where we meet each other, which I think is personally as an actor the trickiest scene of the ones that I did. That scene, because I have to be like I'm not giving you anything, right? And that silent anger, which is quite a difficult place to like sit in, without it, you know, getting the itch to either do something or it becoming kind of like dull, right? And so that I think was the trickiest scene. So listening to the scene partner, giving them complimentary energy, yes, I think so. Giving them a tick there. And finally, am I serving the text, which is to say, am I telling the story of this episode? So the story beats we need to hit in this episode are Tylen finding his fire, that's one of them. Another one is, brand new character who's something very, very different. So, okay, gotta embody that too. And also, we're off to war. There's like the actual plot of the series that we have to communicate to. So part of serving the text and telling the story is like, fundamental stuff, like can the audience hear you? Can they see you? If you're on camera and you like have an important line, are you delivering it in such a way that the audience can actually see what you're thinking, right? There's sort of fundamental things like that. That's what we mean by serving the text. And again, like if you watch this episode, I think you can understand what is happening. I think you can see what Sharako is doing. You can understand that she's someone very, very different and like who like doesn't seem to fit in this world and poses an interesting challenge. I think you can understand what's going through her head with regards to Thailand. You understand by the end of the episode that she is sailing off to war with him, and maybe get a little bit of a hint about why. And you also understand that she's brought something out of him that he didn't think was there. So serving the text, yes, I think so. So now let's talk a little bit about the reception. So I had a feeling that the internet was going to like this character, because, you know, trans woman, I'm a trans woman, the character may or may not be, the show doesn't say, but I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure my online following is going to make this a big deal. And sure enough, I was right. So when the press screenings went out, I got an email from Diego, the head of marketing at HBO, and said, Abigail, we weren't really planning on including you in a lot of the press for season 2. We'd had that discussion already, by the way. I said totally fine. She's in one episode. You know, they put the leads in for the most of the press interviews. I was like not demanding that they put me on the red carpet or anything. But I got an email from him after the presses went out saying, hey, we've got a lot of outlets that want to talk to you about Sharako. And I was like, let's go then. So I did some interviews in pretty rapid succession with Inverse and with Vulture and with Decider, and there were articles in Elle magazine, and then like a whole bunch of other stuff. So the publicity got kind of wild. Things got even wilder because this was sent to me by a fan a few days ago. This is IMDb's list of the most searched for celebrities in the world this week actually, and I'm number 6. I am just above Ryan Reynolds, which is kind of wild. And then there's people, memes and fan art and fan fiction, and yeah, it's kind of been wild. The reaction has been bigger than I imagined, bigger than I thought. I have a friend who works in entertainment journalism who monitors a lot of search traffic, and she said that after episode 5 of the show came out, Sharako was the dominant search for the back half of the season. She's, in terms of like internet search, she's the breakout character of the season. And it's like, oh, okay, like that sort of thing can, in some worlds, make a big difference to one's career. So it certainly makes a big difference to press, right? So yeah, kind of wild. I mean, again, that's why I want to include you all in this and do these live streams, because my YouTube audience has been such a huge part of this journey. So yeah, thank you. And now I guess, why don't we talk a little bit about what's next? Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend. If you're not aware of it, Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend is a short film that I wrote and that I'm also in. You can see me here. It's about 2 women dealing with the trauma they got from their ex, and they're both vampires because their ex is Count Dracula. This is me, Morgana Ignis, and Brandon Rogers in a screenshot in the film. And it comes out in like a few weeks on Nebula. There's a link to Nebula in the description of this video where you'll be able to see Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend when it drops. I'm really excited for this. I think, so we filmed this after I filmed House of the Dragon. I think it's some of the best work that I've ever done. I think I'm also quite proud of the writing too. So this is what I'm going to be doing next in my acting career. And also the premiere of this is going to be in September. So I'm super excited for that too. That's going to be in LA. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me for the stream. Hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, have a great night.